Good hello friends, my name is Mel and welcome back to my channel. It is time to wrap up February and start this next month of reading, and I'm so excited because I feel like I'm on such a good groove right now. I feel really consistent and quite frankly I want to keep that momentum going. So first we are going to talk about all the books that I read in February. Starting off not so strong, it's People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Quite simply, I was bored. I was really bored of this book and really disappointed that this was my first experience with Emily Henry. I have had this book on my shelf for quite some time, and as we will see the trend, really for a lot of my reading, Amanda has been bullying me into reading Emily Henry's books, and so starting with People We Meet on the Vacation was not the hottest of starts, but you know, I think she kind of made up for it. I really just felt like there wasn't a very solid connection between Poppy and Alex. It was just a whole lot of nothing and then they bang. Like, what do you want me to do with that information? Like, okay. Because this is a dual timeline novel, if you will, we see flashbacks to some of their previous adventures together, and they go on vacation every single summer. But one summer in Croatia, very particularly, gets alluded to so much to the point where it almost distracts from the original point as to why it's so pivotal in their relationship. And I don't know. I wasn't convinced. The adventures didn't feel very magical, and quite frankly I wanted to fling this book across the room every time I picked it up. But I did it. I read it and it was annoying. I gave it a 2 star. The next book that I finished in February, I didn't necessarily start this in February, but I finished in February, was The Power of One More by Ed Mylett. This is the ultimate guide to happiness and success. And let me preface this by saying I bought this book immediately when it released, mostly because a lot of the people at my gym were talking about the impact that this book had on them. While I do think it provides a really great way of kind of reframing your mindset and having somebody just kind of remind you as to what you're capable of sometimes, you know, I think you get the same kind of content from his podcasts, and I don't think you really need it in the form of a book. I did, however, tab it up, and it was good for what I needed in January and February. So I used it as kind of like a mental reset to just kind of reground myself. So it served its purpose. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It did get a little preachy at sometimes, but you know, most self-help nonfiction books can. The next book is one that I'm extremely excited to talk about, and that is Georgie All Along by Kate Clayborn. This was my book of the month pick last month and it blew me away. I love this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It is one of my new favorite romance novels, and I did an entire reading vlog on it, so you can go check that out, whichever side it's on. I love this book. It is a new favorite. It was so full of humor. It had your grumpy sunshine vibes. There was also one of my favorite tropes in here, close proximity, and while the close proximity wasn't like more than just the beginning, it served its purpose really well. I thought it was hilarious, and quite frankly I love the greater message behind this book. Yes, it's a romance novel, but it's really about 2 people kind of seeking redemption for themselves after finding a reputation that they are not necessarily happy with. Granted, yes, they put themselves in that position, but there were a lot of external factors that came with that, and finding that redemption and doing it more for themselves than anybody else I think was really important. It felt really mature with a sense of childhood joy, and I think that's what I've been lacking in a lot of romances recently. It's just relationships aren't always so hard, steady, like serious. You know, they're full of joy, they're full of fun, they're full of laughter, and I think this captured that really well. Georgie and Levi are some of my new favorites. I hated their names, their last names that is, and you can find out all about that in the vlog, but I love this. 5 out of 5 stars. The next one is a book that I'm kind of upset that I was disappointed with, and it's Let's Talk About Love. This is one that I've had on my Kindle for quite some time, and really it was just like, this was it. This is what I got from this. From the get-go, it was extremely confusing as to how old they were. primarily because of the way they interacted with each other. I found them to just be really childish for how old they are, like 19, 20, 21. Yes, like, I'm not saying I was the most mature person at that age either, but it was just strange because they felt like they were in early high school. Like, it was just really uncomfortable to find out that, like, Takumi was, like, in a bar drinking. I was like, aren't they, like, 17? So that was weird. I do think high school me would have appreciated this a little bit more, considering the fact that I'm 24 now. Like, it was just weird weird reading from this perspective, especially without really knowing that they were younger. Like, I think that's maybe on me, but also really childish writing. So it was strange because it's such an important topic, and it was my first time reading about asexuality, and to have an ace main character and it just feel flat, like, I think I was able to understand the experience that the author was trying to create, but it just, I don't know, it didn't explore the challenges in a way that felt the book needed. I will say it's a very endearing novel, and seeing how their love, just the way they explore different kinds of love, I think was really great, and it is very endearing. It just wasn't for me. I unfortunately gave this a 2 out of 5 stars. Another ebook I finally finished was Blood, Sweat, and Pixels by Jason Schreier. This was a book that I read for work, and it goes through the, I guess, behind the scenes, if you will, of video games, their development, and any issues that may have come along the way. If you enjoyed kind of learning the behind the scenes of making a video game and really kind of want to dive into some of the nitty-gritty, this book is great for anyone with any or no experience in the industry. Jason is a really famous journalist in the video game sphere. He's an investigative journalist, and he is somebody fantastic to read from. So highly recommend this if you're interested. I don't know what I rated this. I don't think it really needs a rating, but it was good. I liked it, and I'm excited to read the sequel. And finally, sneak peek, I read Beach Read by Emily Henry. I have the UK copy, which makes things different. There are 2 alternate endings, one in the UK version and one in the US version. I am so glad that I read the UK version. So January and Gus are 2 of my new favorite romance characters. I just think that, like, Emily Henry, in comparison to People We Meet on Vacation, just did a much better job of creating a dynamic between characters that felt believable, that felt real, and honestly, I could see them falling in love. There's also another element to Beach Read that I think really did it for me. Granted, I read this in 48 hours, less than 48 hours, read it in less than 2 days, and so I ate it up. It was really easy to read, and the ending really, it did something to me. I think January kind of learning love in a new way and learning to, I don't know, she just understood her family in a different way, and I think seeing her unpack all of that and experience all of the emotions in front of us was done really well, almost really sensitively too, and I was just really pleasantly surprised by my reading experience. This was one that, again, Amanda bullied me into reading, and I'm so glad that she did, because this, in comparison to People We Meet on Vacation, was such a phenomenal experience. I am for sure keeping this bad boy and getting rid of this one. How do you go from this to this, or vice versa? Like, they're 2 completely different books, obviously completely different books, but like in terms of the feelings and everything they evoke, like, I just think Beach Read was so much better. So would you look at that? 2 physical books, 2 paperbacks, 2 from the same author, plus 2 ebooks. 6 total books this month, and I am more than pleased considering how crazy my work schedule and how crazy life has been. So now we're going to hop into I almost forgot a read. I finished this yesterday, which I think also is a great segue. So the last book that I read in February was actually The Pale Dreamer by Samantha Shannon, which is book 0.5 in the Bone Season Bone Season series. You guys know I want to read all my physical books. You guys know I want to keep up with series that I've started, and quite frankly, the Bone Season is one of them. So instead of grabbing the giant chonker, I'm just gonna put The Pale Dreamer up here. We meet Paige Mahoney for the first time, technically in terms of chronological order, and I actually loved my reread of this time around. I think Paige is such a fun character to read from. She continues to surprise me in every way. Seeing her become Little Miss Dreamer, I love this story. I love the origins, and perfect segue into March's TBR. I have the Bone Season on March's TBR. It is finally happening. I am starting this reread, and ideally I want to read the entire series in March. I've read Bone Season, so I think it'll be easier for me to get through it. But the Mime Order, she's a little bit there. The Mime Order is like a 500-page book, so I really hope I get through this because I'm so excited, and I really want to continue with The Song Rising, which is significantly smaller in comparison, at least when you're holding it. It's like a 350-page book, which is pretty standard. So if I can read both of these bad boys, that would be awesome. I also have the novella in between, the Dawn Chorus, I believe is what it's called, 3.5 in the series. So that's on Kindle. I would love to read that. And it knocks out another Kindle book that I have been dying to read. So last month I had impromptu put on Funny You Should Ask by Elisa Sussman, mostly because she's a pretty cover and it's short, so who knows. This is kind of one of those books where I'm like, it's super easy to go through. The book itself is super floppy. I think I'll be able to get through this in no time. It's just a matter of sitting down and actually choosing to pick this one up out of all the books on my physical TBR. But you know, it is what it is. So she's there. I also have 2 books that I'm currently reading. One is a physical book and one is an audiobook. The audiobook is The Light Pirate, and this is one that I actually lost the loan for because I wasn't listening to it enough to finish it. So I lost the loan, but I just got it back. So I'm going to finally finish this. I'm about 50% of the way through, but it's a longer book, so I'm not surprised that it's taking me a little bit longer. It's also a little bit heavier, but so far I've really enjoyed what it's all about. It's very intense. We have hurricane season in Florida and just all of these things that people are experiencing, and I think there's going to be some magical realism in it. I don't know. I didn't really look into it when I got it. That's the name of the game, right? I pick up books and I don't know what they're about. The other physical book that I'm reading is Everything I Know About Love. It's actually sitting on my desk over there, so I'm not gonna go grab it. But this is my nonfiction pick for this month. So far, it feels like a warm hug. It feels like a friend telling me old stories. I just really hope there's a little bit more meat to it than just that. But some of my friends loved it, some of my friends hated it. Reviews are mixed, so I'm curious to see where I land on that list. And finally, it's time to pick my book of the month pick for this month, and I am stuck between 2 books. The first is a fantasy called The Adventures of Amina Al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty. Miss S.A. Chakraborty herself. It's complicated. I've had a complicated relationship with her previous series, which is called the Daevabad trilogy. If you guys remember, I think it was last year, 2 years ago, I like cried reading the first book because I felt seen, but I just... I don't know. And like, do I want to have 2 hefty fantasy books? I don't really think so. The next, which I find hilarious that this is the book that I'm debating, is The Last Russian Doll by Kristen Loesch. Loesch? And again, if we learned absolutely anything from the books on my physical TBR, it's that I've got a lot of historical fiction. So like, why am I gonna add another one, right? Okay. But I just don't know what to pick. Do I skip this month? I think I just might have to. And I'll just pick up one of the other books that I got that I never read. So I think we're doing this together. Consider that month skipped. So we will see what the picks are for April. I have got a TBR that is going to be well over 1,000 pages. So can I do it, ladies and gentlemen? The main goal for this month is to finish the audiobook and to read the Bone Season trilogy series, whatever it's called. So that is what I am leaving you with, my chaos yet again. Well, I feel like I have rambled long enough about all these books. If you guys enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you're reading in the month of March. I'll see you in the next one.